Hi, Grateful Yoga community. My name is Cami Codell. I'm a new teacher at Grateful Yoga. I've been teaching yoga for about 3 years, and this practice is going to be a short Hatha yoga practice for grounding. So there are lots of benefits to a grounding practice. It can be to alleviate anxiety, to make us feel connected to the earth or to our environment or to ourselves, to regulate the nervous system. And I think grounding practice is especially helpful for right now, because if you are a living, breathing human being in the year 2020, you are probably experiencing some or more than some anxiety. So staying grounded, connecting to the breath, connecting to the earth, to the present moment, to what is tangible, can be really helpful for those of us who are experiencing any kind of anxiety or dysregulation of the nervous system. So hopefully this practice will be helpful with that. So we'll start in a seat with a little bit of pranayama and a mudra practice. So the mudra that I'm going to offer you is Bu mudra. Bu comes from the name Bhumi, the earth goddess. And the way that it works is that you'll take your two peace fingers and you'll essentially plug those peace fingers into the earth next to you. Now, of course, if you're seated in a way where the earth is not close to you, where the floor is not close to you, you can always place your two peace fingers onto blocks next to you. You can plug them into your lap or even your belly. Anywhere that's tangible and that helps you to feel grounded. I'm going to plug my fingers, my Bu mudra, into the earth. And so once you've found that mudra shape and plugged in to the earth, I'll invite you to close your eyes or find a soft gaze downward and just begin to connect to the breath. Right, and breath connection can start simply with a little check-in. How is your breathing today? How have you been breathing today? Or even, how are you breathing right now? Checking in with the pace of the breath, the temperature, the volume, the texture, any other things that you notice about the breath, right? Where does the breath manifest in the body? And there's no need to change it at this moment. However, I always find that the minute I simply take notice of my breath, it automatically starts to deepen. And you might be feeling the same way too. So just continue to check in here. And whatever you notice, try to notice it without any sense of judgment. And with a sense of gentleness and loving kindness. Right, so much of what a grounding practice is just meeting ourselves where we're at. So much of what yoga is meeting ourselves where we're at. So I'm giving you permission to do that in this practice. And then maybe you do start to intentionally deepen the breath, right? So lengthening out the inhales and the exhales. Maybe if you're familiar with Ujjayi Pranayama, that light constriction at the back of the throat that creates this gentle whisper ocean sound, you can incorporate that into your breathing, or not. Right, so breathing in and out of the nose, but also knowing that if that doesn't work for you, open mouth exhales are also really grounding, and they help us to release residual energy, whether that's anxious energy or any other type of energy. So that's also there for you. But continuing to breathe, checking in with the body here. Now, a physical sensation of being in your body, right? So sensing into the parts of you that are touching the earth, or whatever it is you're seated on, whether that's your mat, a prop, a chair. And just allowing for there to be this support coming up from underneath you. Physical support of the earth underneath you, and also the energetic support of the earth underneath you. Holding all of you, holding space for you to exist exactly as you are. And if and when you sense into this supportive energy, maybe you inhale that energy up from the earth into your body. And when you exhale, you can think about sending that supportive earth energy right down into the heart space. So every time you inhale, you can think about receiving the supportive energy of the earth. And on every exhale, just settling that energy right down into the heart space. Inhale and exhale. And just continuing to breathe on your own, knowing that if the mind wanders, you can always bring it back to the breath, bring it back to the sensations of the earth underneath you, of the fingers plugged into whatever they're plugged into in this Bhu Mudra. And then allowing this supportive energy of the earth throughout the whole practice to shift you into a more grounded and stable state of being, whatever that means to you. But for now, whenever you're ready, if you had the eyes closed, you can just gently blink them open. You can unplug your fingers from the earth and just give them a little wiggle. And then we will shift into a short movement practice. So from our seat, we'll just shift right into child's pose. So if you were seated on a prop like me, you can just go ahead and move that out of the way. Maybe you extend your legs out in front of you for a moment, shake out the knees just to get the blood flowing again. And then you can swing around and come over onto your hands and knees. If you need a little bit of extra cushion for your knees, you can place a blanket or fold up your mat or maybe a flat pillow. And then finding your hands and knees position. And for your child's pose, you can decide if you want your knees closer together underneath the hips or further apart, big toes together. And then when you're ready, sitting the hips back to the heels, lowering the forehead down. Maybe you always have the option to place the forehead on a block or on another block-like prop or a pillow. And so finding your variation of child's pose. And I'm just going to lift up so that you can hear me. And with any of these shapes that I offer, I'm going to do my best to offer modifications and offer options, but know that you are more than welcome to take any option that is best suited to you. You know what is best for you, and I hope that you continue to move in a way that is reflective of that. So in your child's pose, just allowing the breath to help you settle the hips down, right? It's a different orientation, but still being able to sense into the parts of you that are touching the earth and gathering that supportive energy of the earth in this shape. And of course, know that also if child's pose is not a shape that works for you, you can always lie on your back or take any other shape that feels really grounding and comfortable to you. So In your child's pose, just continue to breathe deeply. And if you would like, you can direct the breath into the belly and really feel the belly moving against the thighs as a way to ground you with that physical sensation, to really help you understand where the breath is going. And then the other thing that you can do in your child's pose is you can roll your forehead from side to side. So, kind of giving your head a little bit of a massage. And also moving the head and neck a little bit as well. And just take a few more breaths here in this child's pose shape. Of course, at any point, if you get sick of it, you can come out of it. But on the next breath in, we'll just simply lift up. You can bring the hands a little bit closer to you, and we'll walk the hands over to the right side of your mat, thinking about extending the left fingertips long to get a nice stretch in the left side of the body. And then you can stay lifted, or for something a little bit deeper, you can lower the forehead here. And just taking a couple of breaths in this lateral child's pose position, checking out the left side of the body. And then we'll make our way over onto the other side. So if you lowered, you can lift the gaze, walk the hands over to the left, reaching the right fingertips forward on that diagonal, and then deciding if you want to stay lifted or lower, and breathing into the right side of the body, checking out this shape on this side. Good, and then when you're ready, you'll just lift up. Let's come on back to center for one more breath here in child's pose. And then the next time that you inhale, you'll just go ahead and lift on up to a tabletop position and find a cow shape. So gently dropping the belly, arching the back, lifting the gaze, widening out the collarbones. And then the next time you exhale, you'll just sit the hips back to the heels and lower in child's pose. So we'll move dynamically between these two shapes. So inhaling to come up to table and then dropping the belly for cow pose. And then as you exhale back to child's pose, you can think about rounding the spine as you sit the hips back to the heels. So continuing to move between these two shapes and linking the movement with your breath. Right? And maybe if you feel stable, if these movements feel familiar to you, you could try closing your eyes and sensing how these poses feel from a more internal place. Good, and then maybe one more round of this. And then the next time you find yourself in child's pose on that exhale, when you're ready to inhale, you'll drag the hands a little bit closer to you, round the back, and lift to stand up on the knees, reaching the arms up over the head. Just take a moment to breathe here. Nice and tall through the spine, relaxing the shoulders away from the ears. And then the next time you exhale, you'll hinge at the hips, engage the core gently to lower onto your hands and knees for tabletop. Let's inhale, find cow pose here again. And then exhale, round the back to sit the hips back to child's pose. And we'll do that whole sequence again. So inhaling to lift up onto the knees, reaching the arms up, maybe lifting the gaze. Exhale, gentle activation of the core as you hinge at your hips and come down to table. Inhale, drop the belly, arch the back for cow. Exhale, round the back, hips to heels, child's pose. Keep going. Inhale, lifting up onto the knees, reaching up. Exhale, hands down, tabletop. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, child's pose. Keep going, moving at your own pace of breath. And really using the breath to inform your decisions about this movement, right? So if you need a break, take a break. If you feel like there's one of these four shapes feels really good to you and you want to stay there for a little bit, do so. Maybe these shapes are really familiar to you as well, and you could try moving with the eyes closed, but you don't have to. Maybe take one more round, and then when you are finished, we'll all meet back in that child's pose. Just for one extra moment here of grounding, reconnecting to the breath. And then let's shift up onto our hands and knees. And if you have blocks or books or any other block-like prop, go ahead and grab it, and you can place your blocks on the highest height, just right in front of you. And we'll use our blocks to help us transition to a standing forward fold. So from our knees and our hands on the blocks, go ahead and just step your right foot up to just outside your right block or right hand. And then you can tuck the left toes, lift the left knee, and just step that left foot up to meet the right. And so we'll meet in this nice wide-legged standing forward fold. And you can keep your hands on your blocks. You can bend your knees here, maybe place your elbows onto your knees. Let your head hang. If you feel a little bit more open in the hamstrings, right, I'll still encourage you to bend your knees, but maybe let the top half hang over the bottom half. You have the option to grab opposite elbows, sway from side to side. Maybe just let the head and neck hang, or take some shakes and nods of the head to release the head and neck a little bit more. And so just moving around or finding stillness in this first forward fold. Right, feeling into the feet against the earth. This is your grounding foundation. And then when you are ready, maybe you place your hands onto your blocks or onto your shins, and we'll find monkey pose. So you can keep the knees bent here or straighten them, whatever works for you. And you can think about, I'll turn to the side. I like to think about shining my heart forward to really find that nice long spine position. But then looking almost sort of at the top of my mat so that I'm not scrunching in the back of my neck. But again, you're gonna know what feels the best for you. So do what feels the best for you. And then from your monkey pose, just sort of take a second to reorient where you are in relationship to gravity. And eventually from here, we'll move up to stand. So maybe you bend your knees and roll up, or you can use your hands and crawl your hands up your legs to come all the way up to standing. And just take a moment here to reorient yourself, gain your bearings, and we'll take a look at Tadasana. So finding a nice stable width for the feet. That might be hips width, that might be wider, it might be shorter. Whatever works for you. Hands by the sides here. Maybe roll the shoulders up, back, and down away from your ears. Nice and tall through the crown of your head. And then maybe you can stay here and just feel how Tadasana feels in stillness. Or we can check out that foot to earth relationship, the Pada Bandha, and do so by moving the weight back and forth a little bit. So shifting the weight a little bit towards the toes, and then towards the heels, just to feel the connection of the feet against the earth. And maybe also you can start to shift your weight a little bit from side to side. So just sensing into what this feels like to have your weight in a place that's uneven in the feet. So yeah, maybe you do some circles with your weight shifting. But eventually you can use this as a tool to find something that feels like some semblance of evenness. It's probably not going to be perfect because we're asymmetrical human beings. and that's totally fine. But something that allows you to feel really stable in the connection from the feet to the earth. And maybe you do this closing your eyes, maybe not. Whatever helps you feel the most stable. Eventually finding stillness in your Tadasana. Maybe for a little extra grounding, you can bring your hands in Anjali Mudra at your heart, or one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly to feel your breathing. Reconnect to the breath, right? We're using the breath to inform every choice we make, every movement we make. And if you moved your hands, you can bring them back down right next to you, and we'll just take some gentle sun breaths. So let's inhale and lift the arms up over the head. And then let's exhale and just bring the hands down to the heart in Anjali Mudra. Again, inhale, reaching the arms out and up over the head. Exhale, hands to heart in Anjali Mudra. And keep going, and while you're doing this, you can decide if you want to keep your drishti, your gaze, steady out in front of you or down. Maybe you play with lifting the gaze as you lift your arms, and then lowering the gaze as you bring the hands to the heart. And so continuing like that, whatever you've chosen, with the drishti, and then if you feel balanced, if you feel stable, maybe the next time you inhale and lift the arms, you lift the heels. And then as you exhale, you just gently lower the heels back down, and you'll notice that what'll help you feel stable is that core. So just this gentle activation. I don't like the feeling of really tensing in the abdominals, but just feeling like they're stable, like they're there, they're helping me and supporting me. So continuing to move with the breath. And you can decide the pace that you want to go at. And we'll do one more. Maybe you take an extra breath. Lift it up onto the tips of the toes. And then when you're ready, we'll meet in Samastitihi, equal standing pose with the hands at the heart center. Let's go ahead and bring the hands to the hips, and you can take a step to turn to face the long edge of your mat if you're not already there. Stepping the feet wide apart. And then we will turn the right toes out, lining up the feet in a way that allows you to feel stable. We'll look at some dynamic warrior too. So before we bend the knees, just checking in with the hips here, maybe moving them a little bit from side to side and finding some relative evenness in the hip points and where they're located. And then as we inhale, we'll just reach the arms up over the head. And then as we exhale, we're just gonna gently bend the knee and bring the arms out to either side. And then we'll just move dynamically. So inhale, straightening the knee any amount, reaching the arms up, and then exhaling into a bent knee warrior two shape. So inhaling, reaching up, exhale, bending, lengthening the arms out to the sides. Now maybe, like we did in our sun breaths, you play with your drishti. And if so, if you feel stable enough to do that, maybe you bring your gaze up towards your hands as you lift and inhale, and then as you exhale, you can bring your gaze out and over those right fingertips. So up to you, you don't have to do that. You can stay looking straight out. Right? Make an honest decision about where you are in your groundedness and in your stability. No need to judge. And then the next time that you're in Warrior Two, we'll hold here, but I'll invite you to flip your palms up. And you can take a little gentle bend of the elbows, just to feel the shoulder blades kind of set on the back. Take some effort out of the arms, and really just sense into the strength of the legs and of the feet rooted into the earth. And then when you're ready, you can place the hands on the hips. Straighten out that right knee, turn the toes forward, and we'll just shift on over to the other side. So left toes out. Inhale and reaching the arms up. And then exhale, bending the knee any amount, opening the arms up, finding a warrior two shape. So just moving between these two shapes again, now on this side. And because we are asymmetrical human beings, each two-sided pose is a really different negotiation depending on which side you're on. So just notice if that's the case for you, right? It might be two completely different sensations, two different ways that you modify, different ways that you move, and that's totally fine. I am not a stickler for symmetricality at all. So the next time you're in your warrior two shape, we'll hold once again, maybe flipping the palms, gentle bend of the elbows, feeling into the strength of the legs, the core. And then when you're ready, placing the hands onto the hips, straightening out the knee, pointing both toes forward. And then we will just step the feet together to face the top of your space. So from our standing position, we will inhale and lift the arms up over the head. Exhale, bend the knees, hinge at the hips, come down to a forward fold. Maybe you grab blocks, bring your hands onto blocks, you can bend the knees. Hang out here for a second, and then when you're ready to inhale, lifting up halfway, finding that monkey shape. And then as you exhale, maybe move your props out of the way, plant the hands, bend the knees, decide if you want to transition through a tabletop position, or maybe you take a look at downward dog for a moment. And if you're in table, you can stay there, you can come down to the forearms, you can check out child's pose. If you are in downward dog, right, maybe you pedal out the feet a couple of times or bend and straighten the knees, spreading the fingertips wide, just checking out the shape for a moment, seeing how it feels in the body. And then if you are in downward dog, you'll lower your knees down to a tabletop position. If you were in any other position other than tabletop position, you can lift up to a tabletop position. And then we'll just go ahead and sit the hips over to one side and bring the feet out in front of us. And I'm just going to turn to face you. And let's take a look at a twist. So in your seat, you decide what that comfortable seat looks like, right? It could be Sukhasana. You could have your feet out in front of you. You could be sitting on your knees. You could definitely be propped up on a pillow or a bolster or a block. You could also be in a chair, whatever works for you. And then when you're ready, right, grounding your sit bones into whatever it is that they're on. And then let's inhale and lift the arms up over the head. And then as we exhale, we'll just take a twist to the right. So left hand to right knee, right hand grounds onto a block or something behind you. And then I like to think about the fact that the closer my back hand is to my seat, the easier of a time I'll have to be nice and tall through the spine. For me, I'm a little bit more interested in length in the spine than I am in depth of the twist. So I'll encourage you as well to try to find some length in the spine. And then from there, maybe you can use the hand into the knee to twist a little bit. You're more than welcome to bring your gaze behind your right shoulder or not. And just breathing here. Right, breath in twists is always a really interesting thing to negotiate because we're compressed in the torso. So it might not be as easy to breathe deeply into the belly. And so we kind of have to play around and explore where else we can send the breath while we're in this compressing position. And then when you're ready, just gently unwinding, coming back to center. Before we move to the other side, we'll just do a quick cat-cow in the spine. So inhaling to arch the back, Lift the chin, lift the gaze. And then exhaling to round the back, chin to chest. And then let's inhale and lengthen out the spine, find a neutral position, and reach our arms up overhead. And then exhale, and we'll twist to the left this time. So right hand to left knee, left hand grounds onto something behind you, growing nice and tall through the spine, and then twisting any amount. Right, and I forgot to say this last time, but if this kind of cross-lateral twist doesn't feel good to you, you can always bring your front hand, so in this case it would be your right hand, on your right knee, and you'll still be twisting. It's just a little bit more open. So breathing into this shape. And like with any pose that has two sides, like I mentioned earlier, this is a completely different side to negotiate. So the depth of the twist might be different. The way you breathe might be different. Just allow for that to be what it is. And then when you are ready, we will just inhale and shift back to center. One more cat-cow in the spine, inhaling to lift the gaze, gentle arch of the spine, and then exhale to lower the gaze and round the spine. And then let's inhale, come on back up to center. And for our final shape, we'll take a look at a seated forward fold of choice. So there are tons of options here. You can stay in Sukhasana, crawl the hands out in front of you, right? You've got blocks to help you as well. You can take Paschimottanasana, which is the feet out in front of you, legs long. If you're doing this, I like to roll up a blanket or even roll up my mat and place it underneath my knees. Especially if you're like me and you have a tendency to hyperextend in the knees, this keeps them bent. And having bent knees is okay, you will still feel sensation in the hamstrings. So if that's what you're looking for, Paschimottanasana is a great option. If you are looking for something in the hips, you can take Baddha Konasana, feet together, knees out wide. Maybe you place blocks or another prop underneath the outsides of the knees and fold here. If you want to combine hips and hamstrings, maybe you're looking at Upavishta Konasana, which is that wide-legged seated forward fold. So either way, wherever you are, here, or here, or here, or somewhere else, maybe in Sukhasana, right? Finding your shape and finding the depth of your forward fold. I'm going to look at Paschimottanasana. That's going to be my choice today. And I, as a yoga teacher, am not really a stickler for what you do with your spine. It's just a different sensation, right? Length in the spine will be a little bit more focused on the hamstrings. If you round the spine, right, that might be a nice release for the lower back in whatever pose you've chosen. And maybe here, wherever you are, you really don't have to go that deep. You don't have to touch your toes. You don't have to bring your forehead to your feet. Doesn't matter. Maybe you're just lowering the chin to the chest and keeping the rest of the body upright. That's awesome. It's up to you. Maybe you close your eyes and reconnect to the breath here. Right? You can reconnect to that Ujjayi Pranayama, light constriction of the back of the throat that allows for us to take that gentle ocean sound in the breath. And reconnecting to the sensation of that supportive energy from the earth, how that feels physically in the body, how that feels emotionally, how it manifests in the heart space. Knowing that, right, you are held, you are connected. And then, whenever you are ready, whatever shape you are in, you will just slowly shift out of it. resting the torso back up to center. And then we will shift onto our spine for a relaxation. So for Savasana, you've got tons of options. You can lay on your spine if laying on your spine doesn't work, especially if you are pregnant and in the second or third trimester. Laying on your side might feel really good with props in between the knees and the ankles. You could even lay prone if laying on your spine or laying on your side doesn't work for you. There are tons of options for Shavasana. The most important thing is that you find a shape that allows you to feel really relaxed and really comfortable. So if you're laying on your spine, I always like to have proppage underneath the knees, right? Maybe a bolster or blocks or something else, right? You can grab layers, make yourself nice and warm, an eye pillow or something to cover up the eyes. And just take as much time as you need here to get settled in your Shavasana shape. There's no rush, nowhere you need to be other than right here in this space practicing yoga. And know also that you are welcome to just turn this video off and stay in Shavasana for as long as you'd like. Turn the volume down and tune out my voice. Or you can stay with me, but know that there's no pressure to do this right because there isn't anything to do. And there's no need to maintain a sense of total focus on my voice. This is really the chance to allow yourself to just be here and to meet yourself where you're at. And to let this rest truly nourish you. And the benefit of this rest after a physical practice is that it gives our body time to integrate all of the information that it's gathered from our movement. So in this Shavasana horizontal shape you've taken, just letting the breath go. There's no need to control it. If you still need some time to settle, maybe a few extra open mouth exhales might feel really nice. Just to help release any residual energy from the physical practice. And then maybe you sense into, like we've done earlier, the parts of you that are touching the earth. What does it feel like for every part of you to be totally supported, totally grounded? The whole weight of you held by the earth underneath. And I invite you to think about, as we did earlier with each inhale, allowing yourself to receive that supportive, spacious energy from the earth. And with each exhale, really using the exhale to help you settle that much more into stillness, into ease, into total comfort. And just allowing yourself to rest here for a couple more moments. In Shavasana. So know that you are welcome to stay in this restful place for as long as you'd like. Or if you're ready to transition, you can begin to bring your awareness to a more everyday state of consciousness, feeling the sensation of the body on whatever it's laying on, the air against your skin, the sounds around you. Maybe beginning to deepen the breath, longer, louder inhales and exhales. Maybe even beginning to bring some small movements into the body, wiggling the fingers and the toes, wrists, ankles, taking any other movements or stretches that feel good to you. And then, however way you feel is best for you, making your way up to a seat. So maybe you roll onto one side in a fetal position and rest here for a moment before pushing yourself up to a seat. If there's a different way you like to come to a seat, do that. And once you've found your seat, just take a moment here, maybe with the hands together at the heart in Anjali Mudra, or one on top of the other if that doesn't work for you. And just feeling the warmth from the hands pressing into each other, pressing onto the heart space. And feeling that warm, grounded energy. And allowing yourself to take that with you off of your mat. Bowing your chin in towards your chest in gratitude for showing up for your yoga practice. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Namaste. If you like that practice and would like to take some more virtual classes with me, I am teaching on Zoom through Grateful Yoga on Wednesdays, Hatha Continuing Wednesday evenings from 7:15 to 8:30 p.m. Central Time. I will also be teaching this upcoming Monday night Nourishing Your Nervous System class. That's from 7 to 8:30, and this theme will be all about Prana and Subtle Anatomy. So we'll be talking a lot about energy, energetic anatomy, Prana, which is the energetic life force, how it moves, how it works, why it works. It's going to be really fun and really interesting. And either way, I really hope you enjoyed this, and I hope to see you in class soon. Thank you so much for being here.